I was on the field again for day 6 of Buffalo Bills training camp, and I'm sharing all of my big observations today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Well, folks, welcome in the Buffalo Bills continued training camp, day 6 now in the books. I had a chance to take in that practice from the sidelines, and I have plenty of takeaways for you today. Let's get into it. The emphasis of this practice was 3rd and longs, and Joe Brady let us know that that was going to be the case in the press conference to open up today's camp practice. And I was pretty excited when he said that because I thought we would see a lot of good back and forth from both sides of the ball, and that actually proved to be the case. I'll give you a lot of my notes from those plays here in segment 3 of today's podcast. But I want to start with Joe Brady's comments because he got into a lot of the hot names offensively, and of course the hottest name being Tyrell Shavers, who's been this receiver that spent last year on the practice squad as an undrafted free agent and just getting a lot of opportunity to work with the first and second team units. And we've heard Sean McDermott comment on him, and Joe Brady was asked about him today, and he said his approach is where it needs to be. He can play multiple spots, and he's made the most of his opportunities. And so that has certainly caught a lot of people's attention, the opportunity plus what the coaches are saying about him. Even Dion Dawkins, after practice, was asked about Tyrell Shavers, and he really complimented him quite well. In fact, he wasn't asked about Tyrell Shavers. He was asked about young players, and he started talking about Tyrell Shavers by choice. And I know that the corresponding piece of this Tyrell Shavers conversation has been, well, what's up with Marques Valdez-Scantling? Hasn't been getting first or second team reps that regularly. Certainly no first team, some second team, and he's just been quiet to this point in training camp. And so Joe Brady was asked about MVS and said he wasn't around for the system install. And I want to push back a little bit there because the Bills signed MVS on May 14th, which was before the OTA practices. I'm sure that there was some meetings, some install stuff that happened, but there were 12 practice opportunities before training camp for MVS to work with this offense. And I'm a little surprised that that was kind of the excuse that was given right off the bat because he has been around for a long enough time. No, he hasn't been there the entire offseason like before the draft, but he was signed on May 14th. There was 12 OTA practices for him to learn the offense and develop some comfort. Joe Brady did say that MVS has been great in the room with Mac Hollins as the veterans in the wide receiver room, and that he's not concerned with targets at this point in camp. Now, I will say that MVS did get first team work regularly on Tuesday morning. Had several reps, caught a couple of passes. I'll talk about that later on, but we did see MVS get first team work and catch passes from Josh Allen. And I think that's definitely a bit of a plot twist based on what has happened to this point. Now, Tyrell Shavers still got first-team reps as well, but welcome to the party, MVS. Justin Shorter also got first-team reps today at wide receiver. So the Bills continue to tinker with lots of different players and combinations, and certainly today was an opportunity for MVS and Justin Shorter to work with the first team. Another big talking point to this point in training camp has been the snaps from Connor McGovern as he switches from guard to center. Joe Brady was asked about this, and he reaffirmed what so many have said, including Connor McGovern, and it's that Connor McGovern is a natural center. Joe Brady called him an elite communicator, which is really important with calling out protections and identifying things on the defense, right? So he's got to be a big-time communicator, and so it was good to hear Joe Brady compliment that. He said he's concerned with the snaps, but it's to be expected at this point. Says that he and Josh Allen, they're putting in the time to address it. And then you watch practice today and you saw several low snaps. Now, the thing about the shotgun snaps is none of them have been just crazy terrible where they're like over Josh Allen's head or so far to the right or left that Josh Allen has to like move and catch the football. But I will say that Josh Allen is definitely thinking about where that ball is going to be, and most of the misses are low. Yesterday's practice, he had a couple of dribblers where he kind of rolled it back, and I thought there wasn't dribblers today, but there were several times where Josh had to kind of reach down to get the football. So I guess it was probably the best day of snaps from McGovern to Allen, but far from everything being exactly what it should be. Another thing that Joe Brady was asked about, and this is a hot name that I haven't really talked about yet, but he's becoming harder and harder to ignore, and that is tight end Zach Davidson. Zach Davidson, he was asked about, or Joe Brady was asked about Zach Davidson, and he said that he's got one speed, and that's full speed, and he's a lot of fun to watch. Said football is important to him. He provides a unique skill set. And even through his injury last year, he stayed dialed in. And like I mentioned, he has quietly just made a lot of plays. And this is now my third camp practice that I've taken in. And he just keeps catching passes. And at some point, you have to acknowledge it and realize that this guy's making the most of his opportunity. And so let me tell you just a little bit about Zach Davidson as he appears to be in competition with Quentin Morris for the tight end 3 job. Now, I will say, I thought Quentin Morris has had strong practices, and this was his best practice today. Caught several passes in the middle of the field with the second and third team units on Tuesday. So good practice from Quentin Morris, but also lots of good practices to this point from Zach Davidson. So Zach Davidson, very unique player. He just turned 26 years old a couple of weeks ago. July 15th was his birthday. So he just turned 26. He was a 2021 fifth-round pick by the Vikings, and he was placed on injured reserve last June with a knee injury. He missed all of camp, preseason, the whole season. And now he's back. He's 6'6", 245 pounds, big-time athletic profile here. Ran a 4.62 in the 40-yard dash, 6.95 three-cone drill, 37.5-inch vertical jump. His RAS score is an 8.8. He came from Central Missouri, and in his final season at Central Missouri, had 40 catches for 894 yards and 15 touchdowns. 40 for 894 and 15 touchdowns. He was an All-American tight end, and he was an All-American punter. So there's just a lot that this guy brings to the table as a punter / tight end. And if I'm not mistaken, he has some quarterback in his background as well, maybe at the high school level. But it's worth noting he's a player that there's some buzz around him. I've talked to some of the media that's been around. They said, yeah, he just kind of keeps making plays. And through 3 practices, he's done that, and he certainly did once again. Now, at the end of the practices, one thing that I've noticed, the Bills kind of practice some end-of-game scenarios like right at the very end, and they might toss in like a couple of players that you're not typically seeing with the starters. And for this practice, on the offensive side of the ball, that was Zach Davidson. And Josh Allen targeted Zach Davidson a couple of times at the end of practice where they were kind of going through some end-of-game stuff. And Daequan Hardy on the offensive or the defensive side of the football was in on some of those snaps as well. So we'll talk more about Daequan Hardy and some other lineup stuff, but wanted to kind of start off today's conversation with what Joe Brady said about some of the hot names and then what that looked like on the practice field. Coming up on the other side of it, I want to talk about some lineup notes, some interesting things today. The Bills signed a player, and that's pretty notable. And there's some special teams notes. We saw Tyler Bass working field goals. We saw the punter competition a little bit. And then, of course, all my notes from the team session where the Bills practice 3rd and long. So plenty to get to here today. Be sure to stick with me. Folks, the NFL season is here. There's so many big-time games across the league, so many big-time games for the Buffalo Bills. Maybe you want to attend these at Highmark Stadium. Well, you have to check out Game Time. Game Time is the fast and easy way to purchase tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. I love the app. It's easy to navigate. They give you last-minute ticket deals. They give you flash deals. They give you a seat view so you know exactly what to expect in terms of what the visuals are going to be like in the stadium. Their best price guarantee, and my favorite part is the all-in pricing. You can choose to look at the prices as all-in, so that way there's no surprise processing fees coming at the end of the transaction. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, folks, welcome back here. Going to talk a little bit about some lineup notes. The Bills signed a new player and some special teams nuggets. Some lineup notes today. So veteran rest days for Nicholas Moreau at linebacker and Daquan Jones, the Bills starting nose tackle. Austin Johnson got the reps in place of Daquan Jones with the first team. Of course, Deshaun Williams, Dwayne Carter also got their opportunities, but it was Ed Oliver and Austin Johnson at defensive tackle. One thing that caught my eye today, we always have this conversation about who's going to be the jumbo tight end, that sixth offensive lineman that gets a chance to block. We knew that was such an important role last season for the Bills. David Edwards filled that job. And, of course, David Edwards now the starting left guard. The guy that practiced that today with the starters was Alec Anderson. And Alec Anderson was a practice squad player his first year. Last year made the team, can play all 5 spots on the offensive line, and now they're giving him some run as that jumbo tight end. And so that's the first I've seen them implement that player to this point. I've been curious who it's going to be. Looks like Alec Anderson's going to have that job, and it looks like Alec Anderson's getting a lot of opportunity to be the backup center as well. I feel like as I've watched practice, more and more I see Will Clapp playing guard and Alec Anderson playing center. And so I think they really like him there. I think there's a good buzz about Alec Anderson and kind of his trajectory and his value as a 5-spot backup and now serving the role as a jumbo tight end. The second team offensive line today, I've kind of tried to keep tabs on this. At left tackle, it was Tylen Grable, The left guard was Will Clapp. The center, Alec Anderson. The right guard, Lyle Collins. The right tackle, Ryan Vandemark. So you kind of continue to see Tylen Grable moving in and out with Cedric Van Granger. And then based on who's in the lineup, it kind of dictates if Collins is playing tackle or guard. So that's kind of been the staples in terms of backup offensive linemen. And then as I kind of teased in the opening segment, Daequan Hardy just kind of gets sprinkled in from time to time with the starting defense. He, of course, the day 3 draft pick out of Penn State, slot corner, can also return punts. And so there's just been a few times here and there throughout the 3 days where he's getting run with the first team. And what that says to me is that I think that they want Daequan Hardy to be the punt returner. And if he's going to be the punt returner, there could be chances that he has to play in a game. And so I think just every once in a while, here's a few snaps. It feels like that's kind of why all that's happening. But we got to let this play out a little bit more. The Bills signed a player. And, of course, they announced this like 5 minutes before practice started. And he was there, Kareem Jackson, wearing number 27 for the Buffalo Bills. Kareem Jackson signed to the Buffalo Bills. I'll tell you about him. The corresponding move, though, is releasing linebacker Shane Simon. So Shane Simon has been released. Kareem Jackson now part of this 91-man roster. Who is Kareem Jackson? Well, he's a very established NFL player. 36 years old, was a first-round pick in 2010 by the Houston Texans. And he started right away for Houston. He was a starting cornerback for the Texans from 2010 through 2018. And then he was a free agent and signed in Denver in 2019, switched from corner to safety, and started from 2019 through last season at safety for the Denver Broncos. 193-game starter in the NFL with a lot of starts at corner and a lot of starts recently at safety. 5'10", 183 pounds, has primarily been a deep safety, not a guy that plays a ton in the box, but like a true deep post safety. That's the spot that he's filled for the Denver Broncos. Now, what's kind of been interesting about Kareem Jackson lately is he's developed this reputation as a dirty player. I mean, he's been under the microscope quite a bit. In fact, last season, literally 2023, he had 4 fines for late hits by the end of October. So kind of that's not a great dynamic, and something that felt like it randomly happened. I mean, been watching football for a long time. Kareem Jackson starting every single season, never really thought of him as this dirty player. In fact, he's kind of been known as one of the more physical, better tackling safeties in the league. And then all of a sudden it was like these late hits start piling up, and he really kind of tarnished his reputation a bit last season. But now a member of the Buffalo Bills, wearing Tre'Davious White's old number. And of course, this news comes after Sean McDermott shares that Mike Edwards is going to be injured. Is it a hamstring? He's week to week with a hamstring injury. And then, unfortunately, during practice on Tuesday, Cole Bishop left with an injury, did not return, and then he was seen with his arm heavily wrapped after practice. So we got some problems here with the safeties, where you have a competition between Damar Hamlin, Mike Edwards, and Cole Bishop. And Mike Edwards is out for potentially weeks. Cole Bishop is hurt, and we know he's been kind of working back from a calf injury. And Damar Hamlin's the only healthy guy in the mix that's still around. So they have Cam Lewis, they have Kendall Williamson, they have D. Delaney, they have Taylor Rapp, but they have signed now Kareem Jackson. We'll see. He didn't really practice much on Tuesday. We'll see if that changes on Thursday, but they might need to ramp him up pretty quickly here. And then also after practice, if you've been to St. John Fisher, there's the main field, there's the practice field where the Bills practice, and there's like this side field. And on that side field, there was, I think, 4 or 5 players working out. You could tell the Bills were having a workout for these players. And I would guess they were all defensive backs. They were doing like what I would call safety drills. So you can tell that there's a little urgency here, maybe some concern about who's available and how to fill out this roster to make sure the Bills have some answers at safety. So the position of greatest concern going into this camp, in my opinion, has experienced some attrition already, and that's not great. So hopefully the fortunes there will change soon, but kind of concerning right now is this safety position opposite of Taylor Rapp. Some notes here on special teams that are important, and then our last segment, I want to talk all about the 3rd and longs and what Josh Allen did and who he threw the ball to and what stood out. A lot of Von Miller conversation coming up. But there's some special teams notes that are very important to me. I think the key in solving the Bills roster puzzle is rooted in who's going to be the punt returner. I think this is going to be the domino effect that we got to figure out that's going to tell us, okay, what does that mean for the rest of the receivers? What does that mean for the corners? Who makes this roster? And when the Bills practiced punt return earlier in the week, Andy Isabella, Daequan Hardy, and KJ Hamler got those opportunities. In this practice, it was just Daequan Hardy and KJ Hamler. And they split reps pretty evenly. I didn't see a single muff. I thought they both caught the ball extremely well. But I think it's an important thing for us to figure out. And I don't know that there's a spot in this roster for both of those players. And so that's what makes it really interesting to me. And I feel like Hamler's opportunities with the offense have went down while Hardy's opportunities with the defense have went up. So that's notable to me. We also saw punting, of course, where there's a legitimate battle between Sam Martin and Jack Browning. Jack Browning, of course, the UDFA out of San Diego State. In watching those punts, I thought Sam Martin was very clearly the most consistent punter. I do think that Jack Browning had some big-time booming punts where you could see he's got a big leg, but I thought he was the one that had the shanks as well. He had a few that he just kind of just bombed them. I mean, just shanked it right off his foot. So consistency from Martin, high, big, booming punts, but also mixed in with some erratic punts from Jack Browning. We also saw Tyler Bass kick field goals today, and that doesn't happen every day. At least in the open sessions that we see. You know, maybe they go off to the side and kick field goals or something, but on the main practice field with, a an offense and a defense. Tyler Bass went 6 for 7. And it's notable that Jack Browning was the holder. So I know that earlier in camp when Tyler Bass kicked field goals for everybody, Sam Martin was the holder. This time it was Jack Browning. Tyler Bass went 6 for 7. So he's in camp now. He's 12 for 13. He hit today from 22 yards, 28 yards, 32, 35, 41, and 46. And he missed from 51. I couldn't really tell. It felt like it was like short and wide on the one from 51. So he missed one, but overall it feels like a pretty good camp to this point for Tyler Bass. So there's your little special teams update. All right, on the other side of it, lots to get into with the team drills. Von Miller looking pretty decent. We'll talk about that here on the other side of it. Folks, be sure to stick with me. I love sports. I love them so much and never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime that I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. My favorite thing right now on FanDuel is all the football's futures bets. So whether it's the projected win totals over under for all the NFL teams, the statistical projections over-unders, the awards, and what those odds are. It's really fun. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, folks, let's talk about these team drills and 11 on 11 and the emphasis being long and late downs, third and longs, 3rd and 6+ was the focus of this practice. And it's funny, I tweeted out that I was excited because Joe Brady said it was going to be, 3rd and long day, and it should be fun to evaluate. And Eric Wood quote tweeted me and said, "It's not fun for the offensive line. This is when all the people watch and say this guy stinks and that guy stinks." And I think there was probably some of that today, although I think there was some good things from the offensive line. But to me, the big story with the team drills was the undeniable impact of Von Miller. Undeniable impact. He really had a strong showing, and I think by the account of everyone in attendance, they would tell you that Von Miller absolutely popped. He beat Spencer Brown for a clean sack, dusted him pretty quickly, and I guess that's kind of concerning. We've had a couple days now of Spencer Brown having some struggles. The optimistic side of me is saying that he spent summer rehabbing from the shoulder, and he's got to get the rust knocked off. But, I mean, Greg Rousseau worked him hard yesterday, and Von Miller worked him hard today. So beat him for a clean sack. I would say that he's had at least 3 more impact pressures throughout the session. And so Von Miller, you could definitely feel his presence. Thought he looked fast and fluid. There was some reps where he tried to beat Spencer with pure speed and bend around his outside hip. And I thought Von looked pretty good being able to dip and bend and really challenge with speed. Now, I thought Spencer Brown on some reps did a good job of just getting his hands on him and kind of pushing him down and riding him wide a little bit. So there was some good back and forth, but undeniable that Von Miller had a strong day. And, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I mean, it's nice to see Von Miller doing meaningful things. And Deion Dawkins after practice was raving about Von Miller. He said his aura is back and let it play out, and that Von Miller's back. And I think today was a really good day. If you wanted to be encouraged about Von Miller, watch this practice. You could definitely feel his presence. He looked terrific. A couple other notes here. I think Deion Jones is playing really well. That's a player, a linebacker, a reserve linebacker. The Bills signed him kind of late in the offseason. Really big-time player for Atlanta for a number of years. In the last few years, he's kind of been down with a shoulder injury. Played with the Browns and Panthers the last couple seasons. Now he's with the Bills. And so I don't want to get crazy here, but I just feel like the third best linebacker, or if I'm being honest, the second best linebacker. I think the best linebacker I've watched is Tyrell Bernard. I think the second best linebacker that I've watched in practice has been Deion Jones. Matt Milano's had his moments. I think Dorian Williams has been really good playing downhill, but in terms of impact against the run and pass. I think Deion Jones has played well. And so we'll see. But I've been very encouraged by watching him, and obviously he provides a lot of veteran experience to that room. Dorian Williams, another good day playing downhill. Had a tackle for loss versus the second team offense. Had a good moment pursuing Josh Allen as well on a scramble where I was right next to it, and they were kind of jawing back and forth on if it was a first down or not. But Dorian looked pretty explosive getting over there. So I think everything, when Dorian's gets to play forward, he's going to be just fine. It's when he's got to go backwards that I get concerned. And then I thought, just generally speaking, against the second teamers, AJ Epenesa, Kingsley Jonathan, Javon Solomon, I think their impact was really obvious. Those guys were in the backfield, creating pressure and causing problems for the offensive line. I thought all three of those guys consistently flashed in practice. And then Jamarcus Ingram had a blitz, a sack on a blitz as a slot corner. So that was another positive. All right, the last thing I want to do is talk about all of the first team offense reps in the 3rd and long session. I charted every single play. And so I'll comment on those, and you can kind of see if there's any themes or interesting things that stand out. So every Josh Allen rep in the 3rd and long team session. First play was a completed pass to Dalton Kincaid on an outbreaking route. Matt Milano was beat in coverage. The next play was completed to Keon Coleman on a glance route. So really quick, stick his foot in the ground, cross the face of the corner, create that leverage, and Josh Allen kind of stuck it right into his hip. That was completed. Then the third play was Von Miller beating Spencer Brown for a sack. The next play was completed to Marques Valdez-Scantling on a deep in. I think the Bills were in cover 3, and so that kind of that in-between zone just kind of sitting in there. MVS found that space was available for Josh Allen, and there was a long completion. The next play was a big pressure look. The Bills sent, they must have sent at least 7. They sent probably 7 on a max blitz, and good communication by the Bills offense to identify and then get the protection right. And so Josh Allen has to throw hot, and he's trying to hit Dawson Knox on an outbreaking pattern, and Rasul Douglas was all over it. Should have been a pick 6, but Rasul Douglas dropped the ball, but he broke on the ball, and he just needed to catch it and run for a touchdown, but he didn't secure the catch. So good pressure look from the defense, good job adjusting, but bad decision, bad throw from Josh Allen. Should have been a pick 6. The next play was completed to Mac Hollins, a deep in route, very similar to the Marques Valdez-Scantling play. There was strong pressure on that snap from Von Miller. Then we had an incomplete pass to Tyrell Shavers, kind of a seam route, and I thought it was a great break on the ball by Cole Bishop. Probably should have been an interception, but a good example of Bishop being able to kind of play and take a 45-degree angle to the ball and get there with good timing. It was a really good play by Bishop. Then you saw an incomplete pass to Khalil Shakir over the middle of the field. There was some pressure. The ball might have been tipped at the line of scrimmage, but Taylor Rapp had a pass breakup in the middle of the field. Then you had a swing pass to James Cook. Then you had a completed pass to Dalton Kincaid in the middle of the field, beat Taron Johnson in coverage, completed an outbreaking pattern to Dawson Knox. I don't know who was in coverage on that play. Then you had a scramble. Josh Allen didn't face pressure, but he did kind of take off with the ball. You can make a case that Ed Oliver might have been able to tackle Josh Allen, but probably not. It probably would have been a long run for Josh Allen. Then you got another swing pass to James Cook. Then you had a curl route to Keon Coleman for probably about a 5-yard gain. Was able to beat Christian Benford in coverage on that play. Then a perimeter screen to Marques Valdez-Scantling. Then Josh Allen hit Tyrell Shavers along the sideline, caught in front of Damar Hamlin, and then there was an inside run that was blown up by Ed Oliver. So those were all of the Josh Allen snaps in team drills, and you can kind of see the guys that he was involving. Coleman, Kincaid, MVS, some dump-offs to James Cook, things that kind of showed up. Even Knox had a few targets within that. Curtis Samuel made some plays, but they weren't necessarily in this session of team drills. There was an earlier session where Josh layered one in to him on a deep in route, but it wasn't part of this 3rd and long session, so I didn't include that in the commentary. One random note here, I've tried to watch Sean McDermott a little bit and just see what's his vibe like and what's his involvement? I would say that this is probably the most hands-off I've ever seen Sean McDermott. I think he's a true CEO out there, just like literally letting his coaches coach, coordinating a little bit of the practice in terms of, all right, guys, it's 3rd and 6 on the ball, 2 minutes left, like just calling out verbal cues like that. But it's not a whole lot of him getting in it, if that makes sense. Like he's kind of letting everyone do their thing. So I say that to say that it doesn't feel like there's a lot of momentum for Sean McDermott to be calling plays on defense. It really feels like he's allowing his staff to do the work, and he's taking that CEO approach. And I'm sure after last season of being a head coach and a defensive coordinator, he's excited to embrace that role. But that's kind of been my general impression from trying to observe McDermott and kind of seeing what his vibe is right now. All right, folks. The Bills are back on the practice field 9:45 on Thursday. So I'll get you a podcast after that, and then we'll have a podcast on Friday. So you won't get a publish from me on Wednesday. This is our 3rd podcast this week. We have 2 more, one after Thursday and one after Friday. So those are all coming your way. I am at Sunny Reds in Lackawanna on Wednesday evening. I plan on getting there at 6 o'clock. I'm taping a podcast with Pat Moran a little bit later in the evening, but I want to get there at 6 o'clock with the intent of saying hello to you. If you are in town and you're able to stop by, want to say hello, I'd love to do that. I'd love to meet you. It means a lot to me. I've got a chance to meet a lot of people that listen to this podcast, whether it was at Bar Bill in Rochester. I was there for Sal Capaccio and Matt Bove's event at practice. Just got a chance to speak to a lot of you guys, and it means a lot to me. If you ever see me, please say hello. I want that opportunity to thank you for listening and get to know the people that listen to this podcast. And every time those interactions are so pleasant, and I come away very energized. And so please say hello if we cross paths. And please, if you're in town or you're around, come say hello on Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. Sunny Reds, Lackawanna. Can't wait for it. Hope that you'll come out to that. Hope that you come back to this podcast. Hit that subscribe button. I'd love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast, folks. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and I look forward to catching up with you again real soon.